Hey guys, if you saw my last video, my last short video, then you probably saw that I said I gotta pull the engine back out due to technical difficulties. So I wanted to explain what some of those difficulties were. And so I'll show you here, and then I'll take you over and show you the block and kind of explain between the two what's going on. So between your piston and the top of the head, then you have, these are like flush portions. Your piston is, this circle here is exactly, the size of your piston, right? And then you have this flat section and a small flat section down here, and these are called quench pads. And then you have this portion that is your combustion chamber. So what's important is that when your piston is coming up top dead center, on your compression stroke, then it's compressing your mixture, and when it gets to the top, then it gets very close. The top of your piston is very close to these quench pads, and it comes up there, squeezes your mixture, and squirts it all into the combustion chamber. And then your spark plug fires. You have a really nice good mix, good burn, and you make power and you live happily ever after. So that's the goal, right? But if you have the issue that I have, where you have too much clearance between the piston and these surfaces of the head, then you're not able to get as good of a quench. And then the other issue is that you can run into having pinging or pre-ignition between this portion of the head and your piston, which you only want the combustion to be happening in this area. You don't want it happening out here. So I'm learning all of this now because I recently started working part-time at a machine shop, and so I'm learning more of the technical aspects of like the internals of engines. And so with less ignorance comes less bliss, and so I get to now take my engine back apart, which is not very blissful, and get the block remachined to lower that clearance. So the desired clearance is 35 to 60 thousandths of an inch between the top of the piston and your quench pad. And I have, depending on the cylinder, it's like 77 thousandths to 78 thousandths. So I'm a bit outside that range. So the piston sits, and I'll show you. Yeah, let's go over to the block, and I'll show you what's going on. All right, so here we have our piston. We've got our small and large quench pads that directly correspond with the quench pads on the head. And so measuring from our head gasket surface, top of the block here, down to the piston is 32 thousandths. And so that coupled with the height of our head gasket, which is 45 thousandths, puts us at 77. It was like 77 to 78, depending on which hole you're measuring. And so the range being 35 to 60 thousandths, we're missing that by a little while. And so what has caused that is something that I didn't know before. I've been learning lots of things at this machine shop. But if you buy replacement pistons, which is what I did, and you're not buying high performance replacement pistons, then they are made 20 thousandths shorter than your factory pistons. And I think it's to account for maybe several block resurface jobs, or something. I'm not exactly sure why they do that, but that's why, I got them replaced, and I didn't, think anything of it before, as I didn't know that they were, going to be shorter. Because, like, if they were the same height, my clearance would be 55 thousandths, which would be, that would be within the range. It's just barely within the range, but it's, within the range and wouldn't be a concern. But, adding another 20 thousandths of clearance puts us outside the range. So something to be aware of if you're rebuilding engines, especially if you're doing like this, where it's not a high performance build. It's just, I'm just getting everything refreshed and, adding a little bit of, modifying it a little bit with, we had to oversize the pistons, so they're 30 over pistons, and then I've added a cam, but, that's like the extent of it, nothing crazy. Yeah, with that, then we're going to machine the deck, at least zero deck it, which is just machining it down to where this block surface is the exact same height as the top of the piston when it's top dead center, and that'll take off 32 thousandths. We might go to and take off 35 thousandths, which but with that and the gasket all bolted on, it'll compress a little bit. It'll put us like about 45 thousandths would be our clearance at that point, and that puts us well within the desired range. So that's the plan there, and I'm trying to make sure I cover everything. Yeah, so make sure you if you're buying pistons or rebuilding an engine, take those things into account, because it's a bummer to have to go backwards like this, but it's better to do it now than to put it all together and run it and then it pings, because you're getting detonation between your quench pad and the quench area on the piston instead of having it all in the chamber area, and then having to pull it apart, or just living with it and always kicking yourself for it. So we're gonna do that, and then we'll get all back together and it'll all be great. So yeah, that's the plan. So tomorrow I'll start pulling this thing back out. So anyway, hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully if you're building an engine, that information was helpful to you, and hopefully you're hearing it before you're this far along on your engine build. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the rest of this process. We'll see you next time.